A new Bendy and the Ink Machine teaser image? You betcha! Hey yo, Prodigy's ProdCharles here, and as requested by you, I will be sharing my thoughts on the new Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 3 teaser screenshot that was released by theMeatly just not long ago. Remember to subscribe and tap that bell for more cool and interesting horror game discussions, theories, and secrets, as there will be more to come. And if you cannot watch this video all the way through right now, remember to tap Add To and select Watch Later to save your progress. Or just do it for fun. Now Prodigies, let's get straight into this screenshot. It looks to be just a simple image showing a deeper part of the studio. Just like any other parts of Joey Drew's cartoon studio, we can see on the left there's a Bendy cutout, which is really interesting. On the right we can see a Bendy doll. And there are some other interesting little things in here that I don't think people have caught, or some people have caught and are racking their brains about. So let's talk about this now. The first thing I want to point to is the Bendy Plush, so it does look like it's confirmed that we will come across more Bendy merch in the next area of Joey Drew's cartoon studio. It seems that in Chapter 3 we will continue through the S3 vault, and this Bendy doll could be a hint that we will be acquainted with the person, the worker at the studio, who donated that Bendy doll. As we know, Joey Drew performed these rituals to appease gods. We learnt this in Chapter 1 from Wally Frank's audio recording, so we could very well come into contact with the person who offered the Bendy doll from their desk. And if the worker transformation theory is true, we might also come across the cartoon who this person represents. I know a lot of people think that Susie Campbell donated the Bendy doll, so we might actually come across Susie Campbell. If we can remember the Chapter 3 announcement trailer, it had a halo above a very inky 3, so that was a really big indication that Alice Angel might actually be in Chapter 3. Well, we're all hoping she is, because if she isn't, then everything up until this point will be one big fat troll by theMeatly. I don't think he'd do that to us, but you never know. The next interesting thing that I want to discuss with you guys is the Bendy cutout to the left. The Bendy cutout basically tells us that, like in Chapters 1 and 2, we will have a Bendy cutout jump scare, one where the Bendy cutout will jump out from around the corner. As we can see there, that Bendy cutout is menacingly looking at us, hiding behind the corner just like it did in Chapter 1. And as usual, there is another ink puddle below that cutout, just like in Chapter 1 as well. Now, we did discuss the secret ink puddles before, and the general agreement among the Prodigies has been that Sammy Lawrence is the one who caused these Bendy cutouts to come out of nowhere. But I also mentioned in that video that it could also be another one of the workers, say if they're very fast, or it could have been one of the ink minions, also known as the Searchers, these ink entities that come and attack Henry at various stages during the game. Prodigies, if this is true, this is super hyped up because this means that Sammy Lawrence might make a comeback, or we might finally get to find out who's been moving those pesky Bendy cutouts around and trying to jump scare us. Because as we can see, the game's been following a pattern where that ink puddle leads to another ink puddle, which leads to another ink puddle, and I can see there are at least 2 ink puddles that probably leads to a crack in the wall with an ink puddle below that. So we'll be able to find out who's been wandering around the walls of Joey Drew's cartoon studios, emerging from the cracks and moving around these Bendy cutouts to jump scare us. That's gonna be super hyped. Prodigies, way up in the back of the room, we can see what appears to be a coffin blocking a door. There's some light happening behind that door, so I don't know if we will actually get to go into that room that the coffin's blocking, or maybe we will have to move the coffin. But more interestingly, there is a coffin there. Now, coffins are something that I think are very highly overlooked. We haven't really talked about them in depth since Chapter 1. We've got to consider here that this is a cartoon studio, and we have to question why coffins would be in this cartoon studio. As we know that Joey Drew's a wacky sort of character, and he's performing these crazy rituals to appease the gods and bring his cartoons to life. If the worker transformation theory is true, he might have used his workers as sacrifices, put them in those coffins as part of his ritual to achieve his goals. Another thing that could be happening here is that Joey Drew is preparing the cartoons to be brought to life in a different way using those coffins. Perhaps it's where he puts his materials and whatnot, but judging from what we've seen in Chapter 2, it does look like Joey Drew will put his materials in baskets near some sort of magical glyphs / transmutation circles. People have been calling them alchemic glyphs. Whatever you want to call those pentagram marks that we've been seeing around the studio, the baskets near those are probably what Joey Drew has been using to prepare his rituals. Of course, those might have just belonged to Sammy Lawrence, as we do know that he wanted to perform a ritual to sacrifice Henry at the end of Chapter 2. But if there's any similarity at all between what Sammy's been doing and what Joey Drew's been doing, then there's a high chance that the way they'd go about doing each of their own rituals would be pretty similar. Still, Coffins are there, super interesting. I wonder if we might actually get jump scared by one of those coffins. I certainly hope not. It would actually be pretty crazy to see an inky worker, kind of like Sammy, jump out of one of those coffins or something, or see just a normal human form worker jump out of that coffin to jump scare Henry. I think that would just blow all our minds. Next, we can see Bacon Soup around the studio, so Bacon Soup will make a return. In the very early days of Bendy and the Ink Machine, Bacon Soup just wasn't in the picture at all. It wasn't there in the game. But when Chapter 2 was released, Chapter 1 was also updated, and now all of the chapters up to date have Bacon Soup in it. It seems to be a recurring theme. Of course, we saw at the end of Chapter 2 that a Bacon Soup can rolled out, and then we saw Boris appear, which was super hyped. I'm totally hyped to see Boris. Maybe these cans are hinting towards an interaction with Boris. Some prodigies have said that he might be a clumsy character, so these might have been the cans of Bacon Soup that he might have left behind. Whatever the case, the Bacon Soup did act as a sort of healing item, some people believe. And as we get more items, we'll probably come across more monsters, and with different ways to beat them, we'll probably have different ways to take damage. I'm hoping that they'll keep self-healing in the game, because self-healing was something that I think saved a lot of people in Chapter 2 when they didn't expect the searchers to come and attack them. But this just adds to the hype, everyone. Everyone's favorite food item is back. Boris the Wolf is back. Alice Angel's gonna make an appearance. It's gonna be amazing. The next thing I'm going to share with you guys that I've noticed is this big box-like item that I can see in the middle right of the image. It kind of looks like the backside of an air conditioner or the front side of a TV. It's kind of hard to say, but judging from the fact that it looks broken and there seems to be a door or some kind of cover for it that's been broken off of it. You can see it hanging there just below the box. I'm going to guess that this is some kind of vent. Now this is cool. I'm getting kind of Outlast / Five Nights at Freddy's sister location sort of vibes where we might have to crawl through vents to avoid monsters. Like I said earlier, there could be more monsters. And as mentioned in the previous teaser video for Chapter 3 that I did, we might actually have to run away from Ink Bendy. So these little vents might be a little place for us to hide away from Bendy when he chases us. Of course, we don't know what other big monsters there could be out there. We don't know if we have to run away from other ink workers or whatnot. It would be pretty scary if Sammy does actually come back and starts chasing us kind of like Ink Bendy does. But overall, I cannot wait to see how that's implemented and how that might work. It would be super cool to have a stealth mechanic in there. And honestly, it would make sense because the official Bendy and the Ink Machine Twitter page tweeted this image, by the way, and they included the message, darker, deeper, inkier. So this might not only mean that we're going deeper into the darker depths of Joey Drew's cartoon studio, and we're going to come across a more inky environment, we might also have to use these vents, face our fears, enter the darkness, and stealth our way through Chapter 3 in order to survive and get deeper. It looks like we'll just have to wait and see. What do you think? I think that it's kind of interesting that we also see more of the pipes, and they're kind of skewing through the room that we can see in the screenshot. They're becoming more and more prominent now, so I wonder if there's going to be some sort of puzzle involving those ink pipes. Perhaps we need to fasten something there, because we do know from Wally Frank's recordings that the ink pipes were leaky, or maybe it's just part of the architecture. It's just a design choice made by theMeatly games, in which case that's also cool. It could be there just to give us a greater sense of claustrophobia, making everything close-packed. And interestingly, that would fall in line with what we said about the vent theory about that box earlier. So looking forward to that, looking forward to hiding. You never know, even though we have more weapons, our items might break again, so we may need to take that option. Remember to subscribe and tap that bell for more cool and interesting horror game videos. If you love horror game theories, be sure to check the description for a link to all of the theories and secrets and prodigies. I really hope that these theories help you to expand on how you think, so it can help you with your thinking in your daily lives. See ya!